Well, good evening and welcome to In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman. And we are excited on tonight. We have two special guests. We have NeeCee Tomas with us and we have Keisha Davis with us. And we are going to have some fun. We're doing things a little different on this year. We're trying to expose more blended families and help more blended families. So we're looking at things from, different perspectives and hearing other sides of blended families, other people's testimonies. So tonight we're going to ask you just to sit back and enjoy this ride with us.
Listen, if you have any questions as we go on through this broadcast, you can reach us at weareablendedfamily@gmail.com. No, actually, you can, right on Facebook, you can just chime in your questions.
Yes.
And then that way we can pick them up from there. But if it's something you wanted to address at a later point, something that we may discuss that you want a little bit more clarity or insight on, you can also hit us at weareablendedfamily@gmail.com. And before we get in, I got to put the plug in on our book, You Want This. This is the ABCs of the Blended Family. Right there, you see the bottom of that, by Brandon and Madeline Hyman. You want this in your arsenal. There's some foundational building blocks that's in this from A to Z that will catapult your family from this stratosphere to the next. And so you want to make sure you get that. And so at this time, again, we have Keisha Davis
and NeeCee Tomas.
And I'm going to tell you guys, this is going to be some good stuff here. And so, sweetheart, let's jump right into this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Say hello to the people, NeeCee and Keisha.
Hello. Hello. How's everybody? It's so awesome to be on In the Blender with my friends Madeline and Pastor Brandon. It's an awesome opportunity, not something that I take lightly. I think it's a privilege that they're deciding to go this direction to get different perspectives, because I believe that this is a topic that needs to be more widely discussed. I believe that it will save families, it will save marriages, it will help people to get a better perspective on how to enter a relationship, not just be in one, but to enter one.
I agree. Amen.
I like that. Did you want to say anything, Keisha, before we get started?
No.
Don't worry, we got something for you real soon.
So we're going to start off. We have questions that we want to just ask you all. So first, one by one, we'll ask for you all to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Let's start with Keisha.
Okay, I'm 43. I'm a single mom. Born and raised in the DMV. Grew up in church, and I started watching In the Blender and have been blessed by it. That's about me. That's a little bit about me.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna come back to that.
Yep. NeeCee?
Well, of course, I'm Denise, but people call me more affectionately NeeCee. I am the mother of two awesome young men, Darius and Darren. I'm 54 years old. I'm raised here in the DMV, working almost all my life. I consider myself one of those go-getters, one of those energetic people that like to draw people to me, not just to be seen, but at the same time, I'm a learner, a life learner, somebody that's always looking to people that I can glean from so that I can advance in life, so that I can learn from some of the experiences that they have, that I possibly can avoid some of the more harsher experiences that they've had, hence In the Blender.
All right. And Keisha, how many kids do you have?
I have 3.
3. Okay. Cool. So our next question to you.
Go ahead, NeeCee.
I said, did I say I was single?
Yeah.
I'm single.
We gonna make sure we put that out there.
Both of these ladies are single. Both of them are single.
Okay. Single perspective. Single perspective.
So how did you you all hear of In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman?
Well, we're friends on Facebook, so I just start seeing seeing the post. I think I seen comment or something, and the first time when I tuned in, I was hooked. Awesome information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was an intriguing topic, and ironically enough, when I first saw the title, I thought it had something to do with blending stuff in the mixer to help you lose weight. So it caught my attention immediately. But when I tuned in and discovered that we were talking about the blended family and some of the challenges that the blended family faces when being blended together, I thought it was very interesting. Even from the perspective of a single person going into relationships with the right mindset. And, some of the perceptions that I've had, I've been able to, dismantle some of those thoughts through the conversations, through things that I've built in my mind, some ideologies that I've had, some experiences that I've had. I've been able to appreciate looking at them a different way.
No, I like that because that was one of the things, even when we got the title In the Blender, that was one of the things that jumped out at me was how are people going to think this program is going to be? It's going to be a fitness program because a lot of people knew, Alan and myself, we were in a healthy lifestyle. And so initially people were thinking that we were talking about health, which in reality, we're talking about a different type of health. And so with this blended, and we thought about all the ingredients that go into making that blended drink. Mm-hmm. And that's what made In the Blender stand out for us.
Absolutely. That was a good catch. Hook. That was a good hook to put on there because it definitely, and I believe you guys were in the middle of not in the middle, in the beginning, wherever you were on your journey, it was a good time and the fruit of your labor was showing, and so it made it a good hook where people wanted to tune in.
Actually, because it was actually 3 months into my transformation. It was actually 3 months into my transformation because I started November of 2016, and we started the program February of 2017. Mm-hmm. And so by then, I had started showing some changes in my body. And so it was really catching people's attention because I think just in that amount of time, I probably lost about 70 pounds. And so people were really trying to figure out what was I doing, what was going on. So that In the Blender, like you said, was a great hook to draw people in.
Yeah.
Are you a part of or ever been a part of a blended family? Like, for example, a wife, a mother, or a daughter?
Lord have mercy.
Scratch my head.
I don't know. I can't remember, Madeline. I can't remember back that far. Not recently. My mother probably tried to do some stuff to me when we was coming up that I don't remember. That's probably why I'm so traumatized now. But not that I can recall.
No, but you know what's so funny about that? What's so funny about that is the young lady that we do the radio broadcast with, she didn't realize that she was a part of a blended family until we did the broadcast.
Wow. Look, that's what I'm saying. You're making me think. I got to go back and check.
What about you, Keisha?
I got
Yes, I've been a part of a blended family. I was married, so I had my daughter at that time, and blended with my husband at that time, who had 2 kids of his own. So,
Oh wow, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. We not gonna talk about that too much.
Quiet, but yeah, I mean, it was. My daughter at the time was really young, so
Yeah.
it from my end it worked really well. I mean, everything blended really well. For the most part, yeah, I think it blended really well.
And and the reason why we ask you that, you young ladies, that question is because we don't want people to think that you have no experience in this area. You get what I'm saying? Even though at this present moment the both of you are single, that does not mean that you don't have experience or information regarding this topic.
Exactly.
absolutely.
And that experience and that information can enhance and allow others to grow if they will hear you.
That's right.
And that's why I
Yeah.
thought, knowing the both of you, I thought it was great having you on here because we know both of you, at a greater level. And we know what you both can
Yeah.
bring to the table. And so I just thought would be very interesting just to hear from this standpoint, from this angle, and then you can kind of look at things differently.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you guys hear about Brandon and Madeline? That's what I want to know.
Oh, so not so much in the blender, but just about us personally.
Well, we know how they heard about In the Blender, but how did you hear about us?
Well, I guess we became acquainted through our church affiliation. I didn't like you as much first, Brandon. No, I'm just joking. But
Get in line. Get in line.
I'm being nice. I was immediately drawn to Madeline, and it was just something about her spirit that was quiet, that wasn't a rebel, that just spoke peace. And then I guess I discovered that you were her husband and you were a compliment to her. And at the same time, I know we've been jokesters with each other for a long time, but we're very serious about our love for the Lord and our respect and honor for what it is that we do. And I admire what you guys do, and I admire the integrity that you walk in, the transparency, and what you share of your own life testimony. You guys are walking examples of, how to walk it out. Like I said, when I first became acquainted with In the Blender, I mean, even before we got to In the Blender, we would have conversation in terms of just life in general. But when it came to In the Blender, you remember the question about, is it a deal breaker or does it break the deal? And we started to expound from there. And it helped me to put things into perspective because I tell you, in the environments that we come from, if we don't have people to sharpen us or to give us different perspectives, we can go through life with the wrong information. And so, long story short, that's how I became acquainted with you guys, just listening and just sharing with you all some of my experiences and listening to you expound and you being very transparent about your experiences, and it helped me to grow. So that's how it is. And that's how it came to be.
Okay, and Keisha?
Wow. We met, through our church affiliation, and I was new to the marriage thing, and I mean, you guys just, really helped a lot with with just my marriage, with information, and then seeing you guys. You guys were just an awesome example of marriage, of persevering, standing, Madeline, like NeeCee said, her spirit and everything else was just beautiful. And so yeah, I mean, you guys just I learned a lot from you guys with just my marriage was I went through a lot with my marriage, so it was good to have. I mean, you guys stood, geez, you guys were there through like thick and thin, like knocking on doors, man. I mean, really, like I just appreciate you guys so much because I mean, even like with your own family, you tell them things that you're going on, that's going on in your marriage, and they're like, okay, whatever, deal with it. But I mean, you guys like actually took the footsteps and like you were there. I mean, I mean, you guys were just really there. So
we spent a lot of time with you, Keisha. I mean, a lot of time. That's one thing that people don't really know about us. I mean, we probably were like almost 2 years with you guys almost every day.
Yes, indeed. Yep. Yeah.
Almost every day, I mean, just trying to get things on track, trying to get things in order. And so, it was just, for us, it was an honor, just to be in that position to try to assist and help you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this was back how many years ago?
Oh, it was like 2000, I think 2001 or maybe 2000 or 2001.
Yeah.
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 And at that time we were only married 2-3 years.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, because we got married in 98.
Yep, we were only married 3 years.
Yeah. Keisha's been around for a long time to see us even from then to where we are, now.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's another reason why I wanted her on the program, because a lot of times when you're doing something of this magnitude, people don't know others that know you from then. Right. Seeing you grow and mature, she's even seen us grow and mature.
Right.
And seen us blossom, to who we are at this present moment. And so I think it's great because we know Keisha like NeeCee. If it's not the truth, she's gonna tell it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Right. And I think that's one of the things that I admire even about your program, your transparency. And when I say that you are transparent enough to even talk about your days, your younger days in marriage, you know what I'm saying, way back then, how you had your militant stand, how you was demanding your way, and how, Madeline had the girls and the girls weren't used to that. All of that stuff is helpful because I think that sometimes people think that they are the only ones that go through that. And in their head, the solution is what they saw their parents doing, or if they didn't have the solution, it's like whatever comes to me naturally, and they're just ready to throw in the towel. One of the things that I remember that you said, and when we was talking about, is it a deal breaker or does it break the deal? It depends on the person that you are connected with. What you and Madeline decided from day one is that y'all staying together. You gonna figure out how to work it out. And when you get that person that's with you, that's gonna help you figure out how to work it out, you work it out. Ain't nobody going nowhere. Baby mama drama, kids drama, we in this together, we gonna get through it. And I think that's the part of you guys that we see the strength and the maturity and the growth in that attracts others to you and to this topic. Because like I said, I'm not married now. And by the time I do get married, it probably won't be a blended family because the kid will be going to college by then. And so I have my life to myself, but I still got to have my mind right. He might got some family members that I got to blend with, So all of this is relevant.
And something, you kind of got ahead of us, NeeCee, when you start talking about that deal breaker, because we wanted to ask the both of you, what would you say is a deal breaker, or what would you say was something that would break the deal? Because that was actually the discussion that got us going.
Yep. So Keisha, you take a stab at it.
Oh wow.
So Keisha, what would be a deal breaker?
I guess if someone's just basically not on the same accord, not wanting to work to have that to go into, I guess, into the relationship as like a courtship, knowing that, you know, okay, we're entering this and it's going to be we're creating a lifestyle. We're going to walking towards the same goal without giving up, without, you know, no matter what comes our way, we have a determination that we're in this. So whether kids or outside family or what job, anything that we know we're walking towards the same thing, we just have to find principles and solutions along the way. But we're on the journey together, and it's not no, you know, what marriage really is. That somebody that, you know, so if they don't want that commitment or that they're not in it for the long run, then that's a deal breaker, because too many people want just short-term relationships or see what they can get out of something for a little bit, and then that's it. So need the long job.
Yeah.
Now, what would you say? Because that's a deal breaker. But what would you say would be something that would break the deal?
That's a trick question, Keisha. I fell for it the first time.
Wow. Because I can create a whole list, but growing, I've learned too that I have, but I don't really know. I really don't know. It's just I don't know.
And you know what? I like that honesty in that answer, because a lot of times we found out a lot of people say this is a deal breaker and this is something that breaks the deal. When in reality, I don't care what your stance is, until you get in that situation, you don't know what the deal breaker is, and you don't know what will break the deal.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things that are now tied into your decision-making process that you just, for most people, let me say it like this, for most people, it's not just cut and dry.
Right.
Yeah.
For most people, it's not just cut and dry. Like for me, the deal breaker was I wouldn't marry. I never saw myself when I was a teenager marrying someone with children.
Right.
Until I met my wife. That just changed. As soon as I met my wife, that whole deal breaker piece walked out the door.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It was because I was introduced to something different.
Right.
And so I tell people, I hear what you're saying, but at the end of the day, you don't know until we get there.
Right. Right.
So NeeCee.
So, before, when I posed the question, I think I was seeing somebody at that time, and him and Darius were having challenges. And I thought that was the deal breaker. He don't get along with my son. That's a deal breaker, And so the perspective that you got, and it's just like you just asked, is it a deal breaker or does it break the deal? I think we were talking about not having all the information and not just looking at things on the surface, to delve a little deeper to see what's behind, what I perceive. You know what I'm saying? So I think what we were talking about, and so it's like you said, I had to dismantle all of that in terms of, what I considered my deal breaker was, because the major one for me at that time was anything that was going to cause friction. And I think with this particular situation, I saw things that kind of like raised flags to me. Like, I thought you were considering me, but you wasn't considering my child. And so that was kind of like a deal breaker to me. How you gonna buy me something to eat and you ain't buying my kid nothing to eat? And we gonna pick him up. Something is wrong with this picture. No, you ain't the one for me. And so that was my automatic. It's like, nah, he ain't gonna work. And I wouldn't have given it a second thought. But, like I said, having a conversation and, listening to rationale instead of just jumping to conclusions, because we don't know a person's background. You know, maybe they didn't know that this is what they were supposed to do. Am I supposed to cast a good guy to the side because you made that mistake? You messed up, dude. You didn't put my son first. And then I'm throwing away my whole future because of this deal breaker that I'm holding truth to that really could have been worked out.
And that was so powerful because early on for me, knowing my story, when my son was 5 months old, I didn't see him again until he was 1. When I saw him at 1, I didn't see him again until he was 10. When I saw him at 10, I didn't see him again until he was 18. So there were big gaps in me seeing him. And so in those gaps, I would have struggles around children that fit in that age group of those gaps. I was the great, there was nobody on this earth that was better with babies than me. I was the master with, but my wife can tell you, I was the baby whisperer. It wasn't with babies, I was the baby whisperer. If a baby was crying, I can get it to stop. If a baby wouldn't eat, I can get it to eat. Whatever a baby was having problems with, I had it. But now you're talking about toddlers, you're talking about preteens, always a struggle there. But the struggle was because of my hurt of not having my son at that age. And I never made that connection. And that's why NeeCee, when you posed that question to me, I said we got to dig a little deeper. Because we need to know why this position is being taken. Because it could be more than just not buying a meal. It could be more than just not having a conversation and not doing things. It could be some underlying things that we're dealing with that causes that to happen.
Exactly. So, that was a eye-opening experience, yes.
Oh man, it brought some deliverance for me because it forced me to expose more of me. And the more I exposed more of me, the more I was able to help others. Because one thing about me, I'm gonna tell it like it is. And you know, to me, it don't matter if you don't like it or not. we can talk about it. And so, go ahead, Sweet. What's the next one?
What would you say are the 3 most impactful things that you have received from watching In the Blender?
Sound like you got it on your tongue, Keisha. Go ahead, let it roll on.
For one, just listening to you guys about how you blended, just what you went through, and NeeCee said before, you think that you're the only one that go through, certain situations. For me, I always had it in my head that, getting married or being with somebody, everything was just automatically going to click. Everything was going to work. Everybody was going to be happy. Now the kids got, a male figure in the home. Everybody was just going to be happy. I didn't know attitudes or, nothing was going to come into play. So one thing that impacted me was watching when you had your daughters come on and, talking about things and how when they were, younger and in the early stages of your marriage, how that blending, how those things took place, and even I remember because when I was married, I remember when I think one of you guys were talking about the door being closed or something. Somebody wasn't used to the door being closed. And for me, I used to be like, I'm not shutting no door. That's my child. You know what I mean? So a lot of stuff that just really impacted me because I'm like, oh, wow, people do that. I mean, really, I'm like, don't nobody do that. You don't shut your child out. You know what I mean? It's, and then being a mom and, with moms, it's for, it's you and your children. So you really, it's when a male comes in, it's like, they're kind of like breaking that, stepping in, they breaking, so it's hard to, for a mom, you have to really play a role. You have to be there for everybody. And
absolutely
just watching and listening, I'm like, oh wow, okay. I mean, it happens, but I mean, those things impacted me a lot. And then just watching you guys too, like from growth from the beginning to the end. I'm like, you know that life is not perfect or whatever, but I mean, just how you guys through, and I mean, y'all just growing and standing and just strong, and then also impacting others with, your marriage. So those things just really stood out for me.
Okay.
Yeah. So for me, it's like Keisha said, the mother part, and I think it's the transparency. When you guys started to talk about Madeline's role and how the girls were just so used to y'all being together, and then when they felt like Brandon was invading, and how it just became an intense, and how you guys didn't let that deter you. And even though Brandon wanted to be the militant, Madeline, you didn't take the role of, nah, you gonna back down or you gonna leave. It's my house, these my girls. You can go, Joker. You can hit the road. And I admire that, because I think we need, just like Keisha said, we need to know that. Now, contrary to what she say, I would, before I would have heard the broadcast or known more about your union coming together, I would have thought everything was perfect. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes we can be just that naive, and when we don't see that in our own lives, we think that something is wrong with us, and that blending together is an impossibility. And I think the thing that that was one of the things that I got from you guys, that it is okay to say you aren't okay. It is okay to say that I was jacked up. It is okay that for people to know that I had to grow in this process, that I didn't have my kid through this year, and that I was the baby whisperer, but I was terrible at the toddler stage and things like that. That is so awesome for people to know. And I think that's what I really like about you guys, the broadcast, and what keeps me, coming back and tuning in, because I know I'm always going to get a nugget that right on time for me, that's going to catapult me in my thinking and in my perspective. So that's it.
And I was going to say, even going back in the earlier part, it wasn't ever, I think because we had made that commitment that no matter what we went through, that we were going to make sure that we stay together. Had we not made that commitment to each other, I probably it would have been like a deal breaker, and it would have broke the deal. Because there was many times where I felt like I was like in the middle, like a tug of war. And like Keisha, going back to what Keisha say, as the mother, it was like you had to please everybody. So you had to learn how to make sure that you're doing what you got to do on this side, and then make sure that you're doing what you have to do on, the other side. But had I not purposed in my heart that I knew that I did not want to go through a second divorce, it would have been just so easy to just walk right on out. Actually, I wouldn't have walked out of the door. He would have walked out of the door. Because I would have did what you said. Yeah, get your stuff, buddy, and you got to go. These my kids. I mean, what I mean? So it wasn't ever that it wasn't a thought, or it never entered my mind. It was just because I knew that I did not want to go through a divorce for a second time. I did not even want to put my children through that again.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And too, the other thing with that is a lot of the issues that we went through were really just about maturity. And
Right.
it was more about needing to grow up, needing to be accountable for your actions and your thoughts, and making sure that you know that if you do this, there's going to be some repercussions behind it, whether good or bad. And so once I begin to understand that and really look at those things and say, you know what, I'm doing more harm than I am doing good, it made it easier for me because for me, I'm a pleaser. I'm a pleaser. I love people. I've learned because of my environment that I grew up in. I've learned the game face. NeeCee know, Keisha, y'all know I got a real good game face. It's cool. A lot of people that don't know me, they haven't experienced with the both of you experience. Keisha know I'm a joker. NeeCee know I'm a joker, you know, but most people don't know that about me because of my game face. And so and that's why I like In the Blender, because it exposes that. It's more to this. Like you said, a lot of times people see the image, but they don't know what's behind it.
Yeah.
And I always tell my wife this, ever since day one. I say, I want to have what people think I have. And what I mean by that is, if people think that my marriage is blessed, that's what I want. I can't settle for you thinking that it's blessed and it's not.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's
because
right.
eventually it's going to show.
Right.
So, I mean, this is something that we've been saying since day one. I just want what people think they see.
That's good.
So are either of you currently a part of a blended family?
I'm not. Oh, I said that real fast, didn't I?
So, and neither one of you really are, right? Not at this present time.
No.
So, being that neither one of you are a part of the blended family, what actually drew you then towards the program?
Because we want to be a part. Look, we want to blend. No. Yeah, we want to blend eventually.
Definitely want to blend, and because it's just like you guys give statistics all the time, and you talk about how prevalent the blended family is. So 9 times out of 10 in these days and times, you will have to blend with somebody. You know, somebody, you know, even if it's your children are in college, you coming home for the holidays. So you got to blend, and they're going to have a perspective. And this is the thing here. My oldest son, he wants to always have an opinion about some potential in my life. And so then we go back to the thing about, you know, whose perspective and how somebody else views somebody. And so even from learning from you guys that having a committed minded person that, hey, it's first of all, I think that I have to pick the right person that's going to be in this commitment that I'm going to make this commitment to. Because if I make a mistake and make a commitment to the wrong person, I might have to kill them before I get out of it, and I don't want to have to do that. So, but anyway, all of that to say that one day I am going to be in a blended family, whether it's blending with in-laws, older kids, or whatever it is. I want to do it gracefully and with as much information that's going to help me to succeed and to minimize any devastation unnecessarily. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that there won't be work to do, but I want to use these opportunities as homework. I want to use these as teaching tools. I want to use these to gain the principles and the strategies that's going to help me to identify, not locate that person, but locate myself, my triggers, and to know what my responsibility is, and not just to have this narrow vision or mind in terms of what I consider a deal breaker or what breaks the deal, but to really ponder that and think about, you know, who am I before I say this about another person? Have I really checked my own self out? Have I really investigated me? So I want to make sure that I'm not a blunder, that I blend well with someone else, and that I start with me first.
That's good. So with that said, and both of you wanting to get married again, how important do you think it is? Because have both of y'all been married before? Keisha, I know you. Okay, so both of y'all.
Yes.
So how important do you think it is for you all to go through counseling when you get ready to enter into this next phase?
I think it's very important because I think it's very important. It's a lot that we need to know, or it might take somebody else to take a second look at what we might not see. So,
yeah, I feel the same way, same exact way.
No, and that's big because we've encountered so many people that jump into this blended family dynamic that haven't gone through counseling. And unfortunately, we think because we 3 times 7 plus that we can work this thing out. Well, guess what? You don't know background, you don't know mindsets, you don't know patterns. There's a lot of things you don't know that you're saying you're going to bring these things together, and some things just don't blend.
Yeah, and to be honest, that Brandon, in my last attempt at being engaged, I was at a place where I had contemplated skipping the counseling, all because I knew that there was going to be some stuff that was going to be revealed that I wanted to cover, not for my sake, but for their sake. You know what I'm saying? And I think, even looking back, that's the most stupidest thing. And I'm so grateful that God saves us from that kind of stuff. But, you get a second opportunity to really think about it, I wouldn't pass up on it. No.
I mean, because even for us, I wish we would have been able to have proper counseling. Because it would have helped us to avoid a lot of things that we went through. Now we knew what we wanted to do, but how to do it was a whole nother ballgame. And so that's why we're so excited about In the Blender, because there's so many people that know they want to do this, but how? What are the steps that we need to take? You know what I'm saying? What are the things that we don't need to do, or what are the things that we do need to do? And understand this. Just because it was good for somebody else doesn't mean it's good for you.
Right, exactly.
And so there are a lot of different angles that we try to bring out in the blender to be a blessing to folks, because this thing is real. It's bigger than us. And I said, even on last week, I talked about how the effects of the children.
Yeah.
You were talking about, NeeCee, how this would impact my son. The things that he would go through and the things that he would face. And I admire that, because a lot of times we don't even consider that. And we don't consider, okay, if I make this decision, how is that going to impact him? You know what I mean? And so those are open discussions that we should have before we make that decision, so that we can all be on the same page and at least know what we need to work towards, if we even want to work towards anything.
Yeah. Exactly.
So what would you say is the most important thing about being a blended family from your point of view, and why?
Keisha, I hear it on your tongue. Go ahead.
I just say communication, and making sure that the adults in a relationship, because sometimes kids can. My children think they adults and can communicate whatever their opinions. So making sure the adults, just the two people that matter, the man and the woman, communicate and have the same, have the direction, know their direction and purpose, where they're going, and know that that they're, like I said, what they're walking towards, and not allowing the little things, seeking counsel, getting with people that have been there, before, whatever, having contacts that you can call when things, there might be a just disaster going on, and communication gets out of whack or whatever. Having some type of reference to go to, just being mature and getting into an agreement with communication and a sound mind.
Good, good.
Yeah, that's good, Keisha, and that's exactly. I know years ago I said that even as a single, I wanted to be accountable to other singles. You know what I'm saying? And so I think the same thing for a married couple. I wouldn't. And this probably some stuff I done made up, but
This is my philosophy. It could be a deal breaker or whatever. But I said I wouldn't, and this could be wrong. Y'all check me. I wouldn't want to marry. I would want to blend with a guy who thought it was important to have accountability partners, married couples. You know what I'm saying? Because I think what happens too much these days is that men want to be their own men and they don't want to be accountable to other people. And he want to keep what's in the house, go on in the house, You know, he want to run the house. Don't nobody need to know my business. Can't nobody tell me. And I think that's a hothead to me. And so I think in order to blend successfully, and it may just be my way of thinking, but I don't think that is far-fetched to think that it would help the success of us blending together if we can agree on that. If we can agree that we need accountability partners. You don't think so?
No,
I see y'all shaking
we looked
y'all
at each
head.
other because I just, and this is so awesome. I just told Madeline Saturday, I said, I've been thinking about this brother, and I said, I need to talk with this brother because if I ever get out of line, this is the person I want you to go to. I just told her this Saturday. And I went to the brother Sunday and told him, I just told my wife, if I get out of line, you the person I want her to contact.
That's it.
And that's because, like you said, that accountability. There are too many times that we don't have people that can check us.
Yeah.
And so I know without a shadow of a doubt, I know this guy's, I know his lineage. I know what he stands for. I know I know his posture, his position in life. And I know he's not going to take any jump. And so I told my wife, I said, there are many men that I know, but there are few men that I give that kind of weight to. And I said, this one right here, if I ever, and it's so funny because this is a guy that I rarely talk to.
Yeah.
I mean, when we see each other, we have conversation, but that's it. We don't talk outside of where we see each other at.
Yeah.
But we have each other's number. You know, we know how to get in contact with each other. But I told my wife, if I ever get out of line, you can call this one.
That's
and
it.
he knows that he has that ability. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I just think that that's important. And when Keisha talked about communication, the communication is key, but we got to make sure that we understand each other's communication. Yeah. Because we can think that just because we're talking that we're communicating. You can think that because I said something that I understood the way you said it and I communicated it to you. But if I don't, if it's in my head one way and it's in your head another way, we still didn't communicate. That's not effective communication. So it's just like you said, is important. Accountability is important. Maturity is important. And just making sure, like this guy said, having a commitment that we're all in, that we're not flip-flopping, and that we're all in, that we're going to do whatever we need to do, whether it's additional counseling, whether it's reading up on something, whether it's getting with some other couples and just talking it out and being transparent, whatever it is that we need to do, getting that buy-in that you down for this.
Right.
And that's why scripture says, in all you're getting, get understanding. Like you said, you could be talking and you can think that you're communicating, but that other person isn't getting any understanding. And so if that other person isn't getting any understanding, there's really no true communication. And that's one of the things that assisted us even through all of the dumb days, was because we would sit down and talk about the dumb days. Like, why did you do that? What was your thoughts behind that? You know what I'm saying? What was you thinking? Like, how did you think that was going to fly? All those different things that she would ask me. Because she wanted to get an understanding, like, why did you say that? Why did you do that? Why did you think that? You know, what was your position behind that? And so we had to literally talk about those things, and I had to make sure that she understood, because I didn't want to be doing things and she not know why I was doing it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just want to see if the audience, anybody that's out there that's watching, have any questions for Keisha or NeeCee. If you have any questions, type them in there so that they can answer the question. And while you all are doing that, so since both of you all are single mothers, what would be a nugget that you would give a young lady thinking about entering into a blended family?
Give me that nugget. I want that nugget. I mean, that one thing that if you talking to a young lady that's about to go into a blended family, what's that one thing you got to give her?
Seek counseling. Seek wisdom among a multitude of counseling. Don't go with your first instinct. Don't go with what you feel. Give it some time. Let your emotional state of mind pass. Give yourself some time to discover what you know of this person. And don't ignore any flags.
That's good.
Red, yellow, or green.
That's good right there. That's good. No, that's really good. Don't ignore red flags, because the red flags, they be showing up.
Right. They do.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people ignore them. And there's consequences that come with ignoring those red flags, unfortunately.
You have some red flags?
Not right away. No, I can't say I had actually had.
She was saying it like she had some experience. Like, you gotta know.
Like people that, have had them. I didn't have any red
But look at y'all what, 20 years in there.
Yeah, I'm just finding this one out. Like, what the fuck?
Like, no, I didn't have red flags. Like, just after I got in it, it was like,
It's
oh,
all kind of like-
man. It was like, oh, Lord Jesus.
What'd you say, Madeline? What did I commit
Yes, I was like, oh, Lord. Like, God, did you play a trick on me?
That's some good stuff, though.
Oh, no. Keisha, so what about you? What's one nugget that you would give?
From my experience, it would be dealing with the kids. I would have to say, because I'm very sensitive with my kids, so I would say I've learned though to grow. I would say not to let, and it might sound harsh, but not to let your kids ruin a good thing, because sometimes, like with my boys, are very. My son thinks that he's probably my husband, but just knowing, like, not ignoring the red flags, like NeeCee said, but also when you can kind of know, have a good connection with somebody, but then your kids, we as women and as mothers, we're quick to turn off. Okay, it ain't working. We don't want to deal with the confusion. We don't want to deal with that struggle. We just gonna lay it. We gotta say, part ways, because my kids not happy. They're not used to nobody being here. That used to be my struggle. Quick to just end the relationship, and I might have ended a lot of good relationships based on my children's perspective or thoughts of just afraid to have somebody else there or somebody around. So really just communicating and taking it slow and not allowing your kids to ruin a good thing. Knowing how to blend. That's good. Knowing how to blend.
No, I love those. From seeking counseling, we're big on that.
Absolutely.
That's a must. If you enter into a blended family, that's a must. You have to go to counseling. Don't ignore the red flags. I can say for myself, I didn't have any red flags. Madeline said she didn't have any red flags. There were some flags that popped up afterwards, but that was because of lack of maturity. It wasn't because of red flags.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And there's a difference. Also, and I like what Keisha said, because I think this is huge. And a lot of people deal with this, is with the children. You have to put that into its proper place, its proper perspective. Understanding that they're going to grow up and they're going to move on. And you're going to inevitably have your life to live. And so you have to be able to look at that situation and see, is this more of, again, like Keisha said, they just so used to me, they don't want nobody else in this thing.
Yeah.
Because there were a lot of different dynamics that we had to go into, even with the girls, because my girls love their father. I mean, they love him. And so, was I coming in to try to replace him? Was I coming in to try to move him out? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I had to look at all of that, even some of the things that they would do that I didn't like. I had to ask myself, why are they doing that? I just couldn't look at the actions. For me, it was more into why were they doing it? And so, because I'm that type of person, I want to know why.
Right.
I have to know why so I can get an understanding. In myself, I will react the way that I don't want to react. And so if I don't dig a little deeper into it, it'll get me off. And so, but now, because I got an understanding of their relationship with their father, my relationship with them has superseded their relationship with their father. You know, and the both of us together, we make one big great dad. We make one big great dad. I mean, there's some strong points that he brings to the table. There's some strong points that I bring to the table. But one thing we've never done in 21 years is we've never downplayed each other. We've never tried to minimize each other. Even when I had issues as far as discipline, people pull me to the side and say, you know what? I didn't agree with how you handle that, but this is the way you should do it the next time. And for me, that just catapulted me. I mean, I love this dude like, what? You know what I mean? Because that's something where you talk about discipline another man's child.
Right.
That can be something big.
Yep.
But his understanding was they're in your house.
Right.
You're raising them.
Right.
And so there are some rules and some guidelines and things that you're going to put in place, but let me assist you in that. These are my girls. I know how to handle them. And so I have to be wise enough to listen to that, take that advice, and then use it to my advantage.
Right.
And so, oh, wow.
That was good. That was good. And even on the perspective that Keisha went with, like sometimes the kids, may not like, may say they don't like them or act like they don't like them or whatever. And it was something because we didn't find out, like even with him, when we had the girls on here, it took years for our youngest to go back and say why she acted the way that she did in the earlier years. You know what I mean? So in the beginning, when we having that counseling or when we having conversations, it's good to bring everybody in, both adults and the children, so that we can hear from everybody. Because had we known that the youngest felt the way that she felt then, we could have did things even different. Because she was really angry and bitter, and it all was directed towards Brandon, but it really had nothing to do with him
at all.
So, it's important to just make sure that you have the family meetings, you have the family gatherings, even all before you say I do.
No,
yeah.
wow.
So,
listen,
wow. Oh, yeah,
we are
got
out
like
of
30
time,
seconds.
guys. But
Goodness.
listen, we want to thank you guys for tuning in to In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman. I tell you guys, this has been exciting. We want to thank our special guest, Miss Denise Thomas, Miss Davis.
Yes.
Listen, we thank you, young ladies, for joining us. This has been awesome. Listen, how can they reach us, sweetheart?
via email at weareablendedfamily@gmail.com, and also our website, intheblenderministries.com.
If you have any questions that you want us to address, if it was something that Keisha shared, if it was something that NeeCee shared, that you want a little more clarity, you want a little more insight on us, you can reach us at weareblendedfamily@gmail.com. Also, too, you want to make sure you want to put this order in, guys.
We have some books coming in. So
we are a blended, the ABCs.
ABCs of the blended family.
The ABCs of the blended family. So you want to put this in your arsenal. But listen, also, too, Thursday night.
Tune in on Thursday night to WJMS Live 365 Radio. You'll be able to listen to this entire broadcast on Thursday night. So anybody that's out there that missed it, make sure you tell any other blended families that you know to tune in on Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. on WJMS Live 365 radio station.
And listen to all our Facebook family. We're going to upload this version so you guys can see it in its entirety.
Yes.
We thank you guys for tuning in. And until next week.
And thank you, NeeCee. Thank you, Keisha. Love you
guys. Love you too.
Thank you guys for having me.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, Keisha.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
You all have a good night. All right.
Oh, that was good.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all we do.